So the first thing, though, that we want to talk about is the Recovery Rebate Credit. And the 2021 Recovery Rebate Credit is the third stimulus payment that folks got. These payments were sent out last April, and the income threshold amounts were the same as the first two rounds of the stimulus payments that folks got in 2020. What makes this different, though, with the income is the phase out. The phase outs for the third round is much quicker than it was for the first and second round. So if you're a single person and you made $75,000, that was the threshold, that was the maximum, and it would be phased out by the time you made $80,000. So much faster than the earlier ones when on the phase out. These payments, as I said, were sent last April, and they were based on the tax returns that were filed for 2019 and 2020, whichever was the most recent. The previous rounds of the recovery, the first and second round, those were based on the 2018 or 2019 tax return. That whichever was the most recent one when they were sent out. So the 2018 no longer has any impact on this round of the Recovery Rebate Credit. The amount of the credit itself was $1,400, and that was for every member of the tax family that was eligible to receive the credit. And unlike the earlier rounds, those first two rounds of the stimulus payments, this round there was no age limitation on dependents, and there was no different amount. If you recall, in the first round of the first stimulus payment that was sent, there was a different amount if there was a dependent, and the child had to be young enough to qualify for the child tax credit. In the second round, there was no different amounts, but they also had the age limit on the child. The child still had to qualify for the child tax credit. But in the third round, it's different. The third round, it doesn't matter. All members of the tax family are going to get it. What does matter, though, is you must have a valid Social Security number, unless you're a member of a military family, and then there's special rules. But if you must have a valid Social Security number. And that is exactly the way it was in the second round, in that you had to have a valid Social Security number, either the taxpayer or the spouse, in order for that taxpayer or that spouse to collect the stimulus. But what makes this round different is that in this round, if neither the taxpayer or the spouse have a valid Social Security number, that any child that's on that tax return with a valid social will get the Recovery Rebate Credit. There were a lot of folks that, a lot of taxpayers have ITINs, and their children could have valid socials. Well, those children, and the IRS estimates that there's 2.2 million of them, will be able to collect the Recovery Rebate Credit this year. As long as, they'll have to file, parents will still have to file a tax return, but the children are going to be eligible even if the parents are not. Like the prior years, you will claim any additional credit on your 2021 tax return. So if there's an additional child or an additional dependent on the tax return in 2021, and they haven't received those funds, they will now be able to claim those funds when they file their 2021 tax return. Also, like prior years, there is no payback provision on this. So if we have, if somebody received a recovery rebate amount for someone based on their tax return that was filed in 2020 or 2019, and that person is not claimed on the 2021 tax return, you will not have to repay that amount. You commonly see this when you have children that are going between parents and get claimed on different years. But whoever claims the child this year will be able to claim that credit. And if the other parent claimed that child last year, they won't have to repay it. All right. I said earlier that the American Rescue Plan impacted these other refundable credits quite a bit. And I want to go through each one of these. We're going to talk now about the earned income tax credit because it has been expanded. Then we'll go into the child tax credit because it's been expanded, the amounts have been increased, and eligibility has been changed. And then lastly, we'll get into the child and dependent care credit because it has been expanded dramatically, and it is a refundable credit for 2021.